Hi everyone, short vid. A couple of topics that came up, a lot of resolution talk about, console and gameplay, mostly about the next gen consoles and certain games with high resolution or not. And I thought I'd just, talk a bit about that. It's a short topic. Basically, fuck resolution. No joke. Just gotta be blunt about that. Fuck resolution. Because if your game sucks, if your gameplay is bad, if your gameplay is boring, your game is repetitive, there's nothing to go back to, then your resolution and graphics don't really matter. I mean, I still attempt to play Chivalry because it's a fun game. It reminds me a lot of Bushido Blade. That's a PC game, but the game doesn't have high amount of graphics, and basically I have to tone it down to make it run to a certain degree because there's a lot of issues with that game. But the game is fun. I couldn't give that much more of a fuck about low settings graphic and all that. And then you compare it to a game like Rise, where ooh look, Crytek graphics, but the gameplay is boring as hell. I mean, seriously, if I wanted to have a QuickTime Fest or a QuickTime Event Fest, then I don't know, David Cage game? Even those kind of bore me because the gameplay is not something I really like and it's not enticing. And the only replay value I see with the David Cage games is, oh, well, alternative paths and such. Hell, for that, I'd even go with The Walking Dead, where for the graphics, it looks like a comic book in a sense, and that has style. The gameplay comes in with different amounts or different actions, as well as it's a modified point and click adventure. So, on that degree, I really didn't care if it looks, oh, it looks cartoony. Okay, I couldn't give that much more of a fuck. Um, so it's a bit jading to hear people just argue over graphic and resolution. Oh, it's not 1080p, 60 frame per second, so it sucks. No. If your gameplay sucks, then your gameplay sucks. If your game concept, if the main concept sucks, then your game sucks. There's nothing to it. I mean, I do remember an era, around PS1 where SCEA, which I still load to this day. They were like, well, we do not want 2D games anymore. We want them to make 3D games, polygonal games, because of certain titles such as Final Fantasy VII and Tekken going on the rage. And that brought down a couple of franchises. I don't know if you guys remember Alundra. Alundra died. It made a second game that was all 3D, and it couldn't really handle it. I remember Tomba, the first game, still one of my top games of all time because of all the things it did, and even tried to bring into the second game that turned 3D and lost all its appeal because it just couldn't handle it, and it didn't need to. Hell, better example. Have you guys ever played Mega Man X5, X4? Great games, right? Then you look at X7. Oh, puke-tastic. Puke-tastic because it was trying to force on this 3D aspect that it did not need. Thank God Inafune continued with ZX because, X7 wasn't his idea or his project. Continued with Mega Man Zero. I think ZX was another participant. I'd still have to look it up, but at least these kept 2D and they kept in the same vein as the previous ones. Um, so those are examples of where graphics doesn't really matter if they fuck around with the gameplay. You want to have a good core gameplay. Even to this day, I spent a few times on Monaco because it's a fun game. And I couldn't give that much more of a fuck about the graphics. Payday 2, you will see me playing this game all the time because it's a fun game. And I couldn't care less if it's not 1080p. Hell, I'm not even playing on a 1080p TV because my other one broke, but I couldn't care less, right? So gameplay can never be dethroned by graphics when it comes to the game quality. If you have both, then oh, great for you. I really liked Metal Gear Rising Revengeance because once I placed it on a 1080p monitor to record it, wow, it looked fucking gorgeous. And it had fast action gameplay. Once you spend the time to just look around and say, ooh, this is kind of lovely. Now let me get back to cutting people up. And this is why I kind of enjoyed Shadow Warrior right now. Hint, hint, because the gameplay is top notch, the level design is really great, and it brings me back to the time where you had first person shooters that were really open and they would let you go around, have you find secrets and stuff. Had some jokes to it, a bit like Borderland. I really like Borderland. I kind of wish I had more time to play it, but restarting your game two, three times is not my idea of fun. PlayStation has its issues, right? But still, the graphic didn't really matter. It's a cartoony style, yada yada yada, but the gameplay is fun. If I'm in the gameplay, I don't have time to look around and say, ooh, tree, fish AI, and all that. So, anyway, just a couple of discussions upon that, a couple of things to ponder. I kind of hope that people will understand the importance of gameplay over graphics or gameplay over resolution and good game concept, not just poke poke rise, let's copy on another popular game, poke poke God of War, because it does something great, but we don't really know how to use QuickTime events like these. Maybe I should make a video about the God of War QuickTime events because that's another topic on its own. And basically, when it comes to the God of War QuickTime events, they know how to do it right. But topic for another video. Those are going to be short ones, really blend one. I'm not going to record extra gameplay for those. It's just talking. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. And hey, let's start a discussion. What do you think? What kind of games blew you away graphic wise, but completely blew gameplay wise and replayability wise? Or what's the invert? Gameplay that really sucked. No, actually, how do you make an inverse of that? I mean, there's a case of graphic, epic, gameplay sucks. Oh, well, the inverse would be graphic sucks, but gameplay terrific. Okay, so let's start a discussion. I'd like some comments on this. If there's none, well, let's move on to the next topic, right? Thanks again, guys. Later.